guys, it's Emily, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm discussing all the books that I plan and hopefully plan on reading in April. Now I'm not the best at sticking to TBRs, but I'm going to try. These are just like ideas I'm throwing out there. So I don't know the last time I filmed a TBR video or uploaded one. It's been a hot minute. So anyways, let's just jump into it without any more preamble. I'm working on a few different videos at the moment, so a lot of these are for those, and then I've got a few extra things. The first things are a bunch of rereads. Actually, first and foremost, I'm currently reading my Vampire Plus One by Jenna Levine, which is the sequel to My Roommate is a Vampire. So I'm filming this like March 26th, so as long as I haven't finished that one already by the end of the month, then that's on my TBR. Basically, it's about Reginald, who you meet in the first book. He's Frederick's best friend, and he is a vampire fugitive, and he ends up fake dating the main girl. I think it is like Amelia or something like that, but I don't quite remember, so don't quote me on that. It's a fake dating story. So far so fun. I'm like 23% into it and I'm having a good time. Moving on to my rereads, I'm feeling nostalgic, so I'm working on a video where I'm rereading books that I read in 2014. I'd like this to be like a yearly series. You'll be seeing the 2015 one very soon, because I would like to do it like every like 10 years ago of the books I was reading, but I didn't have a chance to finish this one last year, so I'm working on it now. So first and foremost, we have the one I'm currently in the middle of, which is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. It's basically about a girl named Anna who moves to Paris and is going to an American school in France, and just meeting a boy named Etienne St. Clair, and the two of them become friends, kind of have this like instant attraction, only St. Clair has a girlfriend, so nothing's gonna actually happen between them, but obviously something's gonna happen between them. I'm having a good time with it so far, so that's all I'm really gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you much of my thoughts, because like, why would I tell you that now? You'll find out. But this is one of my favorite books I read when I was like 13. I've since read it in 2023 and had like a different experience with it, but it was still like a good experience. Honestly, it made the book more sentimental to me than it was originally. And now I feel like this time I'm also having a unique experience with it. So I feel like it's fun every time I revisit this one. It's a good time. Then we have Delirium by Lauren Oliver. So this one's going to be an interesting one. This one follows a girl named Lena who lives in this dystopian society where love is like a disease, and so you get like cured at 18. And she's always been like set on this, she's ready to be cured, but then she meets a boy named Alex, and so he changes things for her. So I'm interested to see how things hold up with this one, because I'm not just like rereading favorites, I'm rereading just like books in general. Some of them are like second chances. This one is kind of the outlier in that, because I gave this book I think 5 stars when I read it. I loved this one, but then I read the second book and I loved it even more. And then the last book was a huge disappointment. I hated it. I still hate it. And so now, knowing what I know about the series, I'm curious to see what opinions will change, what stays the same. I'm curious to revisit this one. I know my mom loved this one. I think she still does to some extent. I don't know if she loves it as much as she used to, but I'm excited to revisit this one and see what my thoughts are. This is back in the day when I used to finish series. What a concept. Who was I? Next we have a classic you guys will definitely recognize, and that's The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This is about a girl named Hazel who has cancer, or I think she's maybe in remission for cancer. She goes through some cancer support group, and she ends up meeting a guy named Augustus Waters, and the two of them hit it off, but you know, she doesn't want to fall in love, so they kind of just become friends and stuff. It's cute. It's a good time from what I remember, but that's what I don't know if it holds up, because like, this was kind of at the start of like my contemporary romance kick, and like honestly, the book I credit for actually making me find the genre in the first place and making me fall in love with the genre, because before that, all the books I was reading was like dystopian fantasy, like, Delirium and Matched and The Selection and The Hunger Games. Like, it was all of those. That's what I was reading. So then, I discovered that like, oh wait, there can be just like love stories that are set in a contemporary setting, and I got to see the movie of it, which was fun. I didn't go like in theaters because like I was kind of around like the hype train of it, so I read it after the movie was already in theaters. But I remember I rewatched it like a ton, like we'd rented it, and so like I kept rewatching it as much as I could before the rent ran out. So I'm curious to revisit this one and see if it holds up. Do I still love it the same way? Or was it just like a romance I read at the time? Like, is it still gonna be 5 stars the way it was when I was 13? And then finally, for the rereads, we have The Siren by Kiera Cass, which you may be like, Emily, didn't The Siren by Kiera Cass come out in 2016 or whatever? Yes, it did. But there was an original indie published version of The Siren that I did luckily get my hands on before. I think it's out of print now. Like, I don't think you can get this version anymore because now it's been traditionally published. And they are different stories. I don't know how that happens, like, as often maybe in traditional published romance, but like these are 2 different stories, but each of them are special in their own way to me. I think I will always love this one more because this is what came first, but they're both great. Basically, The Siren follows this girl named Kaylin who becomes a siren when she is drowning and basically begs to live, and so now she has to serve this 100-year sentence as a siren, where once a year the ocean calls them out to basically kill people. They go out to like sink a ship and whatever, and this like feeds the ocean for a year. But because of like their siren abilities, like they can't talk to people and stuff, because if they do, they'll just want to go and drown themselves. And one of the big rules about being a siren is the fact that you can't date, you can't fall in love with anybody. That's strictly forbidden. That is until Kaylin ends up meeting a boy named Akinley, and the two are very attracted to each other. So I remember this book made me cry when I was young, so we'll see if it makes me cry again. Okay, moving on to another video. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but like years ago, I was like working on this like Project TBR, I think is what I called it, where I rewatched old TBR videos, and whatever books that showed up on those TBRs that I owned physically, I was going to read. But there was one video, I think it was the most recent one, is the only one. I still haven't read the books from that video, and so I haven't continued on with that series because of it. But I'm gonna like figure out how to rework that series. I'm thinking, you know, like I have to intentionally start the vlogs like ASAP, but they're not gonna be like, the way I was doing it before was like, I have to read all of them this month and whatever, but I'm not gonna do it like that anymore. So, you know, when I have time, I'm gonna squeeze them in, but we'll figure that out. The books that showed up in that video, we have The Forbidden Wish by Jessica Corey, which is a Aladdin retelling where the genie is a girl and the genie and Aladdin fall in love. So I've been very excited to read this one for a long, long time. I'm very excited about it. Then we have The Love That's With the World by Emily Henry, which I got like around the time it came out. Like, you could say I was an Emily Henry fan before it was cool, okay? I don't remember what the plot of this one was. It was like something maybe involving spirits or something. Like I think the main character is seeing spirits and she has to like save somebody. I remember the plot kind of reminded me of In 27 Days by Alison Gervais, and that was the reason I wanted to pick this one up. And I still love this cover. I think it's still gorgeous, okay? Give me a 2016 cover any day. It's 2016, 27, whatever, it doesn't matter. Then we have The Unfairest of Them All, which is the second book in the Ever After High series, which I just reread, so I will go into this with like more of like a fresh brain on this, and hopefully finally actually make progress in this series, because this is a must of a thing I need to do. And then if you have seen that video, you know, in recent memory and do remember, is like, that's it, Emily, right? That there's only 3 books. Yes, there was. But then I mentioned a book that I didn't own at the time that I now do own in that video, which was none other than Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, which I got because I bought like a whole lot of books, and so when like it was like a whole collection of books, and so with that came Me Before You, and so I just decided to keep it. I was like, you know what, maybe we'll revisit it, maybe we'll find, because I DNF'd this book originally, I didn't end up liking it, but also it's an adult book and I was like a youngin' at the time. I'm now an adult woman, so I'm curious to revisit this one now and see if my thoughts have changed, or will I still DNF it the second time around, you know, and maybe unhaul it if that's the case. If I'm gonna DNF it, I don't think I need to keep it. It follows a girl named Louisa who ends up helping this like quadriplegic man named Will, I think. Yes. Wow, how did I remember that? That's like impressive, because I didn't like this book. And they fall in love, but like he also wants to, like, what's the word, like euthanasia, that kind of thing. He wants to die, essentially. So it's really sad. But there's also a movie that starred the guy, Sam Claflin, played Finnick, so then I can watch the movie too. We'll see. Maybe I got through this one faster than I did originally. I'm curious to see if my thoughts change this time around, or if I still hate this book. We're gonna find out. Next on the agenda, I'm working on a video where I'm reading 25 books before I turned 24, each of them coinciding with every year I've been alive. So I've read already 2 books for this video, so I'm moving on with just like, I just have 1 book that I'm talking about today. I'm gonna be filming this for quite a while, like, because it's 25 books. The next book I'm reading is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, which I don't really know much about. I've just owned it for a long time. I've owned like the whole series, so I'm hoping I like this one. It's not off to a great start, I will say that. It's a historical romance. I don't know if there's like a fantasy element or what. I'm gonna go into this pretty blindly, and I'm only on page, what, you know, 10. I am on page 10. Wow, I was gonna say 10, but I was like, there's no way I'm on page 10. I am on page 10, so I'll give you my thoughts and feelings at the end of the month, or also in that vlog whenever that comes out. Then we have Dorothy Much As Die by Danielle Page, which I'm working on a video where I'm going to be reading like Wizard of Oz retellings, but also with that I am buddy reading this with my friend Claire. We have like a book club we're doing, so we restarted that because we had it going on for a while. I started reading it, like listening to the audiobook, and I was very intrigued, but I wanted to pick it up physically. I changed my mind. I was like, I started just speeding through it with the audiobook, and I'm like, I just want to actually just like sit and enjoy this book. I've owned this one for a long time. I've unfortunately ruined it, but it's okay. Basically, this book follows a girl named Amy who lives, I think, in Kansas, and she ends up going to Oz through a tornado, as one does, Only Oz is not exactly what she thought it was. It's much darker, and Dorothy is evil in this world, and so I think she's after Dorothy, and that's the plot. I'm very excited about this one. I think it's gonna be a good time. It's a 5-star prediction for me, I think, for this year. I think I put it in my like books I need to read this year, so I haven't really worked on that TBR at all, so I need to actually get around to reading some of those books. Next we have 2 books, well actually more than 2, but I've only just brought up the 2 to show you. We have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise and the Reaping, both by Suzanne Collins. I have been so excited for this book, but this book I actually originally had no intentions of reading, and that was until I saw the movie, and then I changed my mind. I was like, you know what, I'm actually really into this, I actually really love it. I've seen the movie like multiple times now, and so I want to read the book, and I feel like, you know, I wasn't really interested in the beginning because I was like, I don't really care about like a President Snow backstory, but now I think watching the movie first was a good call. So I'm more looking forward to this one. I'm not going to synopsize these. You know what they're about. You've already heard people talk about it. I don't need to tell you. And then we have Sunrise and the Reaping, which is one of my most anticipated releases of 2025. Or just in general, I'm so excited for this. Like, because like ever since Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was announced, I was hoping that this would be a Haymitch story or a Finnick story, and it wasn't. But now we got a Haymitch story, and I've seen everyone reading this all over the internet and crying about it, so I want to know before I get spoiled. So I want to do like a whole actually reread of the series. Like, I'm going to read it in chronological order, which might be like just an unconventional way to do it. But I'm curious once I read these 2 books to see what changes when I go back and reread the rest of the series, to see if there's anything else I pick up on. Because I feel like if I don't read these first, like, I'm not gonna pick up on the other things like when I reread them. So I'm curious to see what is gonna change. So I also got like the Indigo exclusive. You can't tell because I took the sticker off the cover, but it is the Indigo exclusive edition. And then finally we have It Ends in Fire by Andrew Schwartz, which, if you don't know, Andrew worked on the app Choices. He wrote a lot of my favorite stories on there. He's doing like, I think, Candlelight Games now is what he's working on, which I'm very excited for that. I think Project Spellstruck's the story they're working on. I'm very looking forward to it. But he wrote books, and so I've been meaning to pick this one up for a while. Like, I've had it on my shelf for a little while. It's like a fantasy story, and honestly I don't want to know much else, but I trust Andrew, I trust his writing, and I'm curious to see how his writing will translate to book form instead of like, you know, choose your own adventure style stuff. I'm very looking forward to this one. These are some of the books that I plan on reading in April. Hopefully I actually get around to these. These are my like main reading plans. Let me know what you plan on reading this month. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big fat thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of this lovely face and more TBR videos from me. Or just videos in general. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. There's a lot in the works. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon in a new video. Goodbye!